There is a large island floating in the middle of the Ignora Ocean, known as Isla, shaped like a cross. Everyone knows that the Demon Lord is a powerful ruler of the demon realm who aspires to rule over humans and create an ideal paradise for creatures of darkness. The Demon Lord has 4 generals, Adramlech, Lucifer, Alciel, and Malasalota. He sent his 4 great marshals to attack the 4 continents and slaughter innocent creatures indiscriminately. Times of crisis create heroes, so a hero wielding a holy sword rose up against them. As a result, her group eliminated 3 of Lucifer's legions along with Adramlech and Malasalota. Then the hero led her army to invade the Demon Lord's castle. Here, Alciel had to fight the hero's allied forces alone. Someone turned Alciel to stone, but he broke free from the stone and unleashed his maximum power to attack. However, the cloaked man was equally strong and counterattacked. When he let his guard down, he was ambushed by the Demon Lord from behind. And seeing this, the hero rushed in to engage him in close combat. At the same time, the hero's companions immobilized the Demon Lord, allowing him to easily take one of his horns. At this moment, Alciel returned and used a skill to blow everyone away, saying that the human army was overwhelming their forces, so the collapse of the castle was just a matter of time. Therefore, Alciel wanted to retreat to re-establish their forces. Suddenly, the hero flew in to stab the Demon Lord. So he immediately soared into the sky. After declaring that he would return to rule in Isla, he and Alciel flew into a portal. Now, both had been transported to the human world, and Alciel was very surprised that the Demon Lord had been transformed into a human. When he saw a car passing by, he was about to attack it, but Satan stopped him. Suddenly, 2 police officers came to check on them because they appeared injured, which led to Alciel cursing at them. But they couldn't understand his language. Sasaki wanted to take both of them to the police station, so Alciel jumped back and was about to give him a beating. But the young man couldn't use magic power and had to comply and get in the car to go to the station. When they arrived, the officer gave Satan some udon to eat, and he immediately used his evil eye to analyze the ingredients in the dish, then hypnotized the police officer to reveal information about this place. When finished, he went to find Alciel and told his subordinate that this place was Earth. It became clear that magical power, or demons and devils didn't exist here. Then Alciel realized they were lacking magic power, so they couldn't maintain their demon forms. Satan didn't expect to be transformed like this, so he guessed that humans formed the core of all life, or it was due to the effect between this world and the portal. Although Satan tried to retain some magic power, it was difficult to prevent it from dissipating. As for Alciel, he had no magic power left, so Satan wanted to find a way to restore their magic power, and until then, they would have to survive here. First, they went to the committee to create fake household registrations and residence cards for themselves. Next, Satan used stolen money and created a seal to make a bank card. And finally, they went to a real estate agency to find a place to live. Then the broker took them to see a house. When they arrived, they met the landlord Mickey, who had delusions of power. That evening, Satan suddenly fainted and was taken to the hospital. The cause was exhaustion because the human body needs to eat and drink. However, 1 Roman 4 fluid treatment cost the same as 1 month's rent, making Satan realize that they needed money to survive. So when they returned home, they immediately wrote resumes to look for jobs. Some time later, when Satan was living extravagantly, Alciel told him to be more economical with his spending. But Satan found the purchase of a refrigerator, washing machine, and bicycle to be very necessary. Alciel wanted them to pay in installments, but Satan didn't like that idea and wanted to spend generously, leaving them with no money to buy food. Satan said he still had a little money and got meals provided from his part-time job. But Alciel didn't want to eat hamburgers and fries every day. He said that would cause them to die before they could return to the demon realm. Satan didn't want to listen to his subordinates' complaints, so he quickly grabbed his bike and went to work. While waiting at a red light, he saw Amelia caught in the rain, so he gave her an umbrella before riding to work. Because it was an important campaign week, he was very determined to set a record for selling potatoes. When selling, Satan always invited customers to buy more, because he believed that accumulating from small things was necessary to restore his status as the demon lord. The young man was also attentive in warming up baby food for customers' children. Satan worked very professionally, which made Chiho admire him. He said that when free, one should actively serve customers as it would bring long-term benefits. At this moment, Alciel sighed because previously, he and the demon lord had both been unemployed. Satan realized their main goal was to return to Antaila, so he said he would go to work to earn money, while Satan would find a way to restore magic power so they could rule this world. However, the demon lord had sold himself to capitalism, which greatly disappointed Alciel, and the young man was even more helpless when he couldn't find any information about magic power. At the same time, Chiho was troubled because she had spilled potatoes on the floor 6 times in 1 month. Suddenly, Kisaki came and said they had to work at full capacity to compete for first place in the campaign, and reminded Chiho to handle potatoes carefully. A while later, a large number of customers came in, so Satan reminded Chiho to smile at them. He was about to add cheese to the potatoes when he realized they hadn't been fried because the machine was broken. The young man was contemplating whether to use magic power to fix the machine and win first place, but then remembered that Alciel had advised him to only use it in unavoidable situations. The young man was confused, but Kisaki suddenly appeared and called him over to talk, making him worry that his use of magic power had been discovered. But she actually announced that he had been promoted to an A-rank employee. That evening, the young man ran home joyfully, and when he stopped at a red light, he met Emmy again. She knew Satan had used magic power and questioned why he was working at the store. Hearing this, Satan realized she was the hero from their previous life. Going back to when the demon lord and Alciel escaped through the portal, the hero had also followed to chase and completely eliminate them. Currently, the demon lord was very surprised to see Emmy, and she said she had come to destroy Satan. The young man wanted to negotiate, but she immediately took out her weapon to threaten him. In the tense moment, Satan started commenting on the price of her knife, saying it was 100 yen, and he didn't see Emmy's holy sword, so he thought she had lost her holy magic. Emmy guessed that Satan was in the same situation because she sensed that his magic power was very weak, and with those words, Emmy immediately rushed toward him. At the same time, Alciel was startled and went to turn off the overflowing pot of water and found it strange that the demon lord hadn't returned home yet. Emmy and Satan had been taken to the police station for fighting in the street. The police officer said Emmy couldn't use a knife to attack her boyfriend, which made her angry, and she denied it. But he didn't believe her and advised her to calm down and resolve the issue. When leaving, Emmy said she would let Satan go this time, but next time she would definitely not spare him. Satan couldn't believe the hero would say such words. Then he asked for the umbrella back that Emmy had borrowed in the morning, but she said she had thrown it away and warned Satan to be careful when walking at night. Emmy's job in this world was as a customer service representative. Jika invited Emmy to eat at M. Gidono's restaurant, but she refused because the demon lord worked there. After work, Emmy went to the store to buy some things, and in the evening, she ate alone and watched TV, which made her uncomfortable and made her want to find trouble with Satan. While the demon lord and Alciel were having dinner, the doorbell suddenly rang. Alciel was very afraid and locked the door when he found out it was the hero. Satan said they had just met yesterday and advised his subordinate not to worry because Emmy couldn't use holy magic. Then Satan led Emmy into the house, and she immediately complained that the place was as small as a rat hole and smelly. Satan said he focused on activities rather than residents, and Emmy criticized their simple meal. So Satan boasted that when his subordinate cooked, no one dared to claim first place. Emmy shared that the chief minister should have come with her here, but unfortunately, the portal closed too quickly, so only Emmy managed to fly in. Satan said Alciel would stay here to begin the conquest of Japan. Emmy scorned him for only being good at boasting, so Satan said he was gradually trying to become a regular employee. Next, he would accumulate money and status to recruit many people to serve him, and then Satan would attack Antaila once more. The young man scorned Emmy for not being able to understand his noble will, and Emmy said that with the remaining power she had, she still had the ability to destroy Satan. But as long as she couldn't find a way to return, she would spare his life. When leaving, she also mocked the main character's name as being rustic. The next day, Jika invited Emmy to eat, but she refused, making her friend think Emmy already had a boyfriend. After work, she went to Satan's house to monitor them. But to her surprise, they only went to the supermarket to buy things. Jika invited Emmy to eat again, and she still refused. That evening, Emmy continued to follow Satan and followed the young man to the hot springs. Jika invited Emmy to eat again, and her answer remained the same. Emmy hid in the bushes at the main character's house to eavesdrop. But the two young men were just talking nonsense, which made her want to leave. Alciel said that instead of eating cucumber with honey, Satan should eat melon. But the young man changed the subject, saying there was an earthquake, to avoid the issue. When Mi finished work, she went to Satan's part-time job to arrange a meeting with him at the intersection from the other day. But Satan pretended not to know Mi and quickly gave her a cake and left. Chiho thought she was Satan's friend and was very jealous. Before Chiho left, she mentioned yesterday's earthquake. Satan said his roommate didn't notice it had happened, and she said the earthquake had made books and CDs fall to the floor. Satan was surprised because yesterday's earthquake wasn't strong. Suddenly, she shouted and asked if the main character's roommate was his girlfriend. Satan said it was his younger brother, which reassured her. When Satan came to Mi, she immediately asked if the young man intended to live here forever, because in the past few days, Mi saw that he didn't do anything bad and even lived very simply, while also being trusted by the store owner for his excellent coping skills. Mi had ignored what Satan said before, but thinking about it, if the young man continued to live here, she wouldn't need to spend effort destroying him anymore. But with a cunning face, he said he would still return to conquer in Te'ila, and suddenly the bicycle tire went flat, making the young man cry out. Mi said it could be fixed, which made him very happy, but suddenly bullets flew toward them, so Satan quickly pushed her to the ground. Mi didn't let him touch her, so Satan said it wasn't the time to argue. When it was Mi's turn to help Satan dodge bullets, he immediately asked her to get off him. Satan guessed there were still many people at the station, so they immediately ran there. Satan realized they were magic bullets, so he guessed that person had very powerful strength and knew exactly who he and Mi were. Satan blamed her for choosing an inappropriate time, so they were in such trouble. However, the young man only finished work late at night, and in the afternoon, she was busy working. Satan didn't want to cycle anymore and walked home. A while later, he met Mi again and thought she had come to steal, but she actually wanted to stay overnight because she had lost her wallet. Alciel saw Mi and blamed the demon lord for daring to stay with the hero all night, so Satan explained they had just been attacked by magic bullets, and while fleeing, Mi had lost her wallet. Because she lived quite far from this place, he had to let her stay here. Alciel acted superior since he was the head of the household, and then Satan threw Mi a blanket to cover herself and generously gave her 1,000 yen to take the train home tomorrow. Alciel said it was a large amount of money from their depleted budget, so Mi promised she would leave early tomorrow. At midnight, Satan received a message from Chiho about the earthquake that would still happen, so she didn't know what to do. When the two young men woke up, they saw a lunchbox made by Mi. While eating, Alciel suddenly saw the key on the floor, so Satan thought Mi had used it to open the door and go outside. Then she locked it and threw the key in here. Alciel admired her handling of the situation, saying that if it were him, he would have taken the key home. While taking a bath, Mi recalled last night's experience and felt very humiliated. Then she heard the TV news about the shooting and saw that Satan was also there but didn't care. At this time, Chiho remembered sending a message about the earthquake to Satan last night. She wanted to meet him to discuss it, so she told her mother she would take the afternoon off work. Her mother reminded Chiho to be careful because times were chaotic. Today, Mi was invited by Jika to have lunch again, but she had to refuse because she had lost her wallet, and besides, she needed to go to the bank to do some procedures at noon. Suddenly, someone called Mi saying he knew about the hero and the demon lord, and also had a plan to destroy them. That person was surprised that the two were on the same side, so Mi said it was out of necessity. He said the fact that the demon lord and she came to another world was the wish of Te'ila. Hearing this, Mi immediately stood up, but she tried to stay calm and sensed that he was a demon. Mi didn't know who that person was because besides Alciel, the four generals were no more. Mi guessed the opponent mentioned Te'ila to shake her. However, she wasn't manipulated psychologically, so he hung up. Just as Mi was about to go eat, she received a call from the police station. When she arrived, she was very angry, while Satan was praising the police officers for being VIPs because they had found his warhorse. When Mi came down, she immediately scolded the two young men for daring to call her here to bail them out. Satan didn't want to bother the landlady, and coincidentally, Mi had stayed at his house yesterday, so she had to repay the favor. Alciel said Mi didn't act like a hero at all, so she scolded Alciel for buying things without a plan and not being worthy of being the demon lord's strategic general. The young man heard this and became depressed. When they went outside, Mi said they were being targeted by a mysterious person, so she warned Satan not to die before she could destroy him. With those words, she left, and he also had to go meet Chiho. When the girl returned home, she put on a pretty dress to go meet the person she liked. Alciel saw it wasn't time for the appointment yet, so he took the demon lord shopping. After trying on many outfits, Alciel finally decided on a suitable one for Satan. The young man said he had prepared a black fund for important occasions. Satan said they were just going for tea and conversation. But Alciel knew girls wouldn't discuss important matters with ordinary friends. If Chiho told Satan, it showed she had feelings for him, so Alciel didn't want the demon lord to wear rustic clothes on a date. In the afternoon, Chiho came to meet Satan and was complimented on her haircut. And she was surprised because Satan wasn't wearing his usual clothes, so she thought he looked very handsome today. Satan explained that his brother wouldn't let him wear those clothes on a date. As soon as Chiho heard the word date, she was extremely happy and wanted to go to a cafe and promised to treat him. But Satan said he still had enough money to treat her, and Chiho wanted to hold hands, so Satan agreed because that way they wouldn't lose each other. Mi was walking when she happened to see Alciel acting suspiciously, and she also saw the demon lord smiling with a girl, so she made Alciel tell her the whole story. After hearing it, she was very curious about why they had to date. Alciel said Chiho had fallen for Satan, which made Mi wonder why she liked that random demon lord. Mi noticed that Chiho's soul was big and round, which made her self-conscious and say that a flat screen like herself would be easier to move during battle. Alciel didn't understand and thought she was on drugs, and Mi was also curious about Chiho's earthquake, so she went there to eavesdrop. At this moment, Chiho was telling Satan that since she started working at the store, she frequently had ringing in her ears. At first, Chiho thought it was because she wasn't used to the work, but at night, she heard someone saying that the other world had an incident and soon there would be a big explosion. Although that person spoke a very strange language, Chiho could understand it. Whenever a natural phenomenon occurred, she always thought of earthquakes, and Satan realized this was a technique for exchanging consciousness and perspectives between people in different worlds. To use it, one must use a target detection technique. When sonar is fired, it will create a magic explosion and many different phenomena will appear. In this case, it might have been converted into earthquakes, and the explosions occurring nearby proved that sonar was targeting Satan and Mi. When he saw Mi and Alciel coming, he deliberately spoke loudly about Chiho's ear ringing not being a problem and advised Chiho to pay attention to the explosion, which made her feel much more reassured. Satan was even proud because he made Mi think he was a trustworthy senior, not a playboy trying to seduce an innocent girl. When Chiho was about to say something, Mi suddenly appeared and advised her not to trust Satan because he was a sly fox. Chiho immediately scolded Mi for having a venomous tongue and asked who she was, so Mi said she was the main character's enemy. The young man advised Mi and Chiho not to argue, but both ignored him. Chiho thought she was Satan's ex-girlfriend, which made her so angry she couldn't speak. Chiho took the opportunity to say Mi had no right to prevent her from approaching Satan, and despite Mi's denial, Chiho still didn't believe her, so both of them argued, neither willing to back down. Suddenly, an earthquake occurred again, causing furniture and houses to collapse. When Chiho woke up, Mi said they were buried down here and had been separated from Satan's group. She believed the young man was still alive and reconciled with Chiho, saying she had no relationship with Satan. The older sister also knew Chiho liked him, which made her very embarrassed, and Chiho wanted to know what Mi thought about Satan because they seemed quite close. However, she hated the young man and warned Mi that rushing headlong into Satan would be very painful. With those words, she had made Chiho fall asleep and called Satan out. At this moment, the young man had returned to his demon lord form, tall with six-pack abs, and seeing this, Mi wanted to gather the remaining holy magic to create a holy sword to finish off the demon lord. Unexpectedly, he asked her to protect Chiho so that he could help everyone get out of here, which shocked Mi when a great demon lord was going to rescue humans. A while later, the police and rescue team arrived, and they were very surprised that no one was injured. Mi remembered that when she was little, she used to bring food to her father, and there was an uncle who came by and complimented the food, so she gave him a portion to eat. He said that the eastern continent had been overthrown by the demon lord, and the west was also in danger. But Jack said that place was protected by the great divine and the crown prince, so there was no need to worry. However, the uncle still believed they couldn't defeat Lucifer. Mi was very worried, so she said the priest's prayer would protect them, and she spoke loudly for the uncle to hear that her father was always right. The next day, Mi was very happy to see the priest coming to her house, but Jack sadly said they came to take Mi away. because she was the daughter of an angel and the only one who could defeat the demon lord. Although he loved his daughter very much, he had to let her leave. A few days later, the village was burned down by Lucifer's army. The priest advised Emai to be strong because she would inherit the power of her mother, who was a great angel. He said the holy sword could only be controlled by a child of an angel and a human. So she asked the priest to teach her how to use the sword to defeat the demon lord. Satan came to call Emai because she seemed soulless, and Emai was surprised that the young man had returned to his human form. When he saw that Chiho was still safe, Satan was very pleased, and the police officer recognized her as Inspector Sasaki's daughter. Satan remembered that he had used magic on him, so he promised to keep today's incident a secret because he saw that Chiho didn't want her father to know. He also didn't want to get into trouble, so he said goodbye and left. Satan said the magic he used on Sasaki had inadvertently affected Chiho, which is why he could hear her voice. The young man wanted to go home to eat, sleep, and rest because the enemy's attack had failed. He said the earthquake was arranged by someone else, and that person was also nearby. Emai said they couldn't replenish magic power and magical equipment. So how could that person unleash such overwhelming power? Suddenly, Jika called Emai, so she went to her. Alciel also hurriedly ran to apologize to the demon lord for not recognizing the enemy's presence. Satan didn't blame Alciel, which moved the young man to tears. Jika had invited Emai to her house and cooked dinner for her friend. While Alciel was begging the demon lord to punish him, 2 police officers wanted to talk to them. Emai finished eating and heard her talking to her mother in a regional dialect. Jika said her hometown was in Kobe, and it was very troublesome there. When asked by Emai, she said she was very scared when the earthquake happened. So whenever someone asked about her hometown, Jika didn't want to answer. Emai also had a violent past that was difficult to tell anyone about. Suddenly, Jika hugged Emai deeply because she hadn't carelessly asked about her hometown. Jika saw that there were many people who did bad things during the chaos, but there were also good people who always tried their best to save others. In general, humans also have aspects similar to angels and demons. On the other side, the police officer warned Satan and Alciel to be careful because there had been many robberies recently. Jika watched the news and also saw them mentioning that issue. So she was quite jealous because Emai had Satan to protect her, but she said there was no relationship between them. While taking a bath, Emai felt the warmth from her heart, which made her very curious about why the demon lord chose to save humans at that time. The next day, she went to Satan's house and paid him back, then learned that last night, Alciel had been extremely traumatized because he couldn't do anything when the demon lord was in danger. So he had been scratching all night and was now sleeping soundly. Satan asked if Emai was okay because she had also used a lot of energy to make Chiho sleep. The woman boldly said it was nothing, so Satan promptly showed her out. He was about to remind her to be careful with her clogs, but it was too late because Emai had already fallen flat on her face. Alciel heard the loud noise and woke up, thinking enemies were ambushing them. Because Emai was injured, Satan told his subordinate to go buy a bandage for her. He was about to help Emai disinfect the wound, but she rejected his help and wanted to do it herself. Seeing her in pain, he asked how she was doing, only to have her throw the hydrogen peroxide bottle at his face and scold him harshly. She demanded that he expand his cruelty like a true demon lord, not someone who was valued at work and flirted with pretty girls. Satan said he had never seen a hero fall down the stairs, cry loudly, and ask the demon lord to treat her wounds. So Emai questioned Satan about his cruelty in burning down her homeland and ordering demons to do countless bad things, so she swore she would never forgive him. Satan apologized to her because before that, he didn't understand humans well. Suddenly, Chiho came there and saw the 2 of them together, misunderstood, and left immediately. The landlady even judged Satan's love story as having high cholesterol levels. Mickey thought Emai was Satan's girlfriend, so she immediately criticized strongly. Because the landlady planned to renovate the boarding house, she asked the main character to sign a confirmation and mentioned that Chiho had run toward the station. When the earthquake occurred, she immediately said he had to take full responsibility, because Chiho had been hit by sonar and received the source of power, so she advised him to hurry there before it was too late. At this moment, 2 subordinates of the night were crossing through the portal. Aimda sensed artificial magic power with an extremely large scale on the other side, so he thought there was a high possibility they would have a fierce battle. At this time, Chiho was suffering when she saw the person she liked with Emai. Suddenly, the purple-haired guy said he would realize Chiho's desperation with the demon lord and the hero. When a man touched that person, he was immediately flung away. This guy even grew wings and decided to start the hunt to surpass the demon lord. Satan's group saw the explosion happen, so they immediately went there and were very surprised to see Lucifer there. While crossing through the portal to Earth, the white-haired one had vomited all over because of motion sickness. Mi couldn't believe Lucifer was still alive because her holy sword had stabbed his chest. But Satan knew he had been helped by Oba from the church. When Mi flew through the portal, he had secretly followed behind. Oba took off his hat and greeted Mi, because he didn't want her to expand her authority after defeating the demon lord. He had conspired to eliminate Mi to maintain power. Satan knew he had promised to take Lucifer back to heaven as motivation to get the young man to join. These cheap scenarios were too predictable for him, and he thought B-grade movies were much more interesting. Alciel immediately got angry because the demon lord dared to waste money to watch movies to relieve stress. Alciel also wanted to go out but had to restrain himself. Yet Satan dared to sneak out alone, so his budget would be cut. At this moment, Lucifer gave Alciel a fatal blow. Before the young man fainted, he didn't forget to remind Satan to choose discount days to watch movies. Then Lucifer flew into the sky and used magic to attack them. Although Satan promptly defended, he still had to run away with Mi. He knew Lucifer had caused the recent robberies to absorb people's negative emotions and increase magic power. In fact, Satan had realized this since being trapped in the rubble, because people's fear had given him enough magic power to return to his original form. Lucifer said if Satan submerged this world, he would have enough magic power to return to Inta-Ila. However, the demon lord didn't want to cause trouble for people, so he wouldn't take magic power that way. Lucifer scolded the demon lord for being naive and decided to absorb Chiho's despair to attack them. Satan unfortunately got hit by magic bullets, and even more unluckily, the young man was taken down on the spot by Oba, who gave him a copper candy. When he was about to finish off both of them, Satan used his remaining strength to teleport Mi away. Then they both fell in front of the station and were unfortunately found by Lucifer. He surprisingly shot through the main character's chest. Lucifer laughed triumphantly because he had defeated the demon lord, so he let Chiho fall freely. Mi immediately rushed to catch her and was also injured in the leg. Lucifer began to use magic to make the buildings collapse onto Mi, but it had stopped because the demon lord had returned and was more powerful than before. Chiho dreamily woke up and saw the demon lord's form. Mi had known the reason Satan came here was to absorb people's despair. Satan immediately told Mi to do something because his magic power was decreasing. At first, the woman proudly refused, but a second later, she agreed and created a shield to protect Chiho. Mi immediately summoned power and the holy sword, which even impressed Satan, so she threatened that after eliminating them, she would also make the demon lord vanish. Satan immediately made everyone faint and created a magic barrier so both sides could fight freely. When Lucifer attacked, Mi immediately deflected the attack into Satan's face. Then she immediately charged to solo with Lucifer and was kicked away by him. One of Lucifer's feathers exploded where she was, which made him extremely satisfied. However, Mi had been saved by Alciel. Although the young man didn't want to cooperate with the hero, he had sworn that he would always be loyal to the demon lord. So from now on, Lucifer would be Alciel's enemy. The young man said he had recovered magic power early, but was busy going home to get his cloak to wear it and look cool. Oba intended to shoot him from behind, but was stopped by Mi. Lucifer scolded Oba for being incompetent and useless, and wanted him to fight properly. Oba was afraid that if they fought with all their strength, they wouldn't have enough holy artifacts to return. Lucifer said it was better than losing their lives here, so the old man had to charge up to fight. Chiho asked Satan if this wasn't filming a movie, which made the young man not know what to say. Alciel and Mi completely overwhelmed Lucifer. Oba immediately attacked them in his place, but was blasted away by Alciel. This made the demon lord relieved as he lowered the buildings to the ground. The young man wanted to resolve this quickly to go show Chiho how to maintain the soft serve ice cream machine. The demon lord immediately flew up and made Oba vanish. Lucifer couldn't even attack before he was terrified by the demon lord's killing intent. Mi said he should let them face punishment for daring to destroy the city. Satan questioned Lucifer, saying if he made him late for work, he would die with him. With those words, the demon lord created a fierce attack that distorted Lucifer's facial features. After that, Chiho asked who they were, so Satan said he was the demon lord from another world. The young man thought Chiho wouldn't believe it, but surprisingly, she did. and Emai said she was both human and angel, which made Chiho surprised that demons and angels existed. Emai even mocked the demon lord for working part-time at a fast food restaurant. So he also rebutted and asked why she didn't attack him if she had so much power. Because Emai was afraid he was hiding his skills, she didn't dare use her abilities, and she also needed to conserve power to return home. Emai also emphasized that they had no relationship, so Chiho could be at ease. She thought he had regained his magic power and would return to Isla. But there were many shifts this month, so the young man had to stay. Emai asked Lucifer how he knew her phone number, so he had to return Emai's lost wallet. Suddenly, two of Emai's subordinates appeared and rushed to her. They immediately recognized these three as the demon lord and his subordinates. Imada said after she left, the entire church was in chaos. Previously, Satan had told them to go to his castle first. When they arrived, everyone was shocked because the castle was as small as a rat hole. Meanwhile, the demon lord had decided to use magic to restore the rubble. With those words, Satan had returned this place to its original appearance. At Satan's house, Anne is said to find Emai. They had fired sonar many times, which made Chiho realize the voice she heard was his. It turned out that Andes had previously set the signal confirmation location to be someone who always thought about the demon lord. Suddenly, the young man returned, which made Chiho scream, scaring the young man as well. The next day, Andes advised Emai to return to the church. He and Amada were quite impressed that the demon lord had restored the city and made people not remember what happened yesterday. During working hours, Chiho was worried that Satan would return to Isla, but he couldn't go because he had lost too much power. When the young man mentioned erasing uncomfortable memories for Chiho, she was extremely angry and scolded him as an idiot. On the occasion of his promotion, Satan went out for a lavish meal. The young man appeared very intimidating, requiring Alciel to remind him because he was disturbing the people around. Satan said the pork intestines were too delicious, so Alciel advised him to eat vegetables to balance his nutrition. The young man wanted to buy food to take home for Lucifer, but Alciel said it wasn't necessary, because that guy was overspending, so Alciel really wanted Satan to deal with him. At the church, someone reported that they had lost track of Oba, and that Emai and the demon lord were living in another world. The superior was surprised because Oba had said the demon lord had vanished after the battle at the castle. The blue-haired one said Amada had returned to the Holy Empire of Sanail, causing the news that Emai was still alive and Oba had left the faith to spread. If the court sorcerer wanted to announce that Emai was still alive, it would create a contradiction because they had previously said she was dead. So the blue-haired one wanted to investigate whether Oba had left the faith and to eliminate Emai's group. But the chief minister thought this was nonsense. Satan had just returned home when he was complained to by Lucifer for being too hungry. When he saw that he had bought a bag of pork for himself, the young man immediately grumbled. Alciel said they had bought a computer and connected to the internet for Lucifer. So don't ask for more when you already have a lot. Seeing that the young man was still not satisfied, Alciel told him to collect information related to magic power, and depending on the results, he would reward him with a large-sized pork rice and a special serving. Seeing that Satan didn't believe in his skills, Lucifer had to prove it to him by calling Emai to boast that his brother had the talent to hack websites because they were about to buy installment purchases through credit cards. The fiery woman was immediately angry, so they had to hang up abruptly. The next day, Kai complimented Satan for being promoted to manager in less than a year of working, and she assessed that he had the ability to influence people. Suddenly, Emai came to have a thin conversation with Satan because he dared to call while she was working. Lucifer was troubled because he couldn't play games, when suddenly the young man was attracted by a website. At this time, Alciel read information that Demonkia might be the residence of low-level demons. He wanted to go there to replenish magic power, but the travel expenses to Turkey seemed a bit difficult. When entering the house, Alciel saw the letter sent by the landlady. When Satan finished work, Emai asked why Lucifer was at his house. Satan said after the previous incident, Oba had been imprisoned, so he didn't dare go out. Emai was surprised that the tiny house could also accommodate 3 thugs. Satan had to accept this because he couldn't return to Isla, so Emai boasted that she could return there anytime. But to keep an eye on the demon lord, she still had to stay here. When he returned home, he was shocked to see Lucifer collapsed on the floor. Alciel advised Satan not to look at the letter and continued to vomit. In the evening, the young man said the landlady had sent them a swimsuit photo, which Lucifer couldn't accept. making Satan mock him for being a demon but afraid of a picture. But when he saw it, Satan became silent and changed the subject to something else. Lucifer immediately showed both of them a place related to demons. It was said that at night, one could hear the whispers of stones along with savage smiles. A while later, Satan and Alciel went there but couldn't sense anything. Suddenly, Chiho called both of them and told her friend that they were living together, which made her, as a Fujoshi, really like this. When at work, Satan asked Chiho about one of the 7 mysteries at her school. Chiho said people heard the groans of monsters or saw reflections of demons in the windows. Satan thought it was related to Ntaila, so he wanted to investigate. That evening, Chiho took both of them to the sealed classroom. Before Chiho was born, a student had gone missing there, so it was no longer used. Satan saw that Chiho was happy, so she said it was her honor to help Satan. Satan asked about the other mysteries, so Chiho said the northern staircase had a different number of steps when going up and down. At 3 a.m., the statue in the art room would open its eyes. In the National Language Dictionary, only the word curse was marked in red, and the piano in the music room occasionally rang out. And the 7th one, no one knew, because if they knew, they would receive a call, and their soul would be taken away. Satan found this absurd, but he was startled when the phone rang. Lucifer suspected that the sealed place had a portal that had been opened, causing the magnetic field there to be unstable, leading to the portal being easier to open. So there was a possibility that the missing student had been swallowed by it. Perhaps if they came at the right time when the portal opened, they could replenish magic power. Satan heard a strange sound and thought it was a magical beast. Alciel, being spiritual, took out a charm to deal with it. But unexpectedly, the person who appeared was Amai. After that, she knew they were looking for magic power from the sealed classroom. Satan questioned why she had broken in, so the woman, while changing her slippers, said she couldn't let them replenish magic power. But when she turned around, she didn't see the group anywhere. Satan didn't want to go with Amai, so he escaped. But it wasn't long before she caught up with him, so he quickly hid in a room. Amai saw a mannequin and thought it was a monster, so she cut it into 100 pieces. Satan scolded her for being destructive and demanded she fix it. The stubborn woman blamed them and forced Satan to use magic to restore it. They were busy arguing and didn't know that their every move was being watched by someone. After that, Satan told Amai to put away her holy sword, but she refused. When they arrived, Alciel realized someone had been there because the ceiling wood was loose. The group went inside and saw a gaming console. Suddenly, Lucifer called to say if they saw a gaming console, to bring it back for him. Satan realized he and Oba had opened a portal here. The young man immediately confessed that he had stayed with him and unfortunately forgot the game console. He realized Lucifer had tricked him into coming here to bring this back. He immediately denied it and even demanded the young man buy food for him. Satan was very upset about being led by the nose by his subordinate, which made Alciel really want to sell him to get money to buy daily necessities. The next day, Satan accidentally dropped the landlady's photo. When he picked it up to look, he wanted to reincarnate immediately. That evening, the dwarf Lucifer demanded Alciel return the game console, but the young man only allowed him to play for 1 hour a day. When Satan had just returned home, he saw a girl falling down the stairs, so he rushed to catch her. The next day, while both were having breakfast, they heard the doorbell. They thought it was the girl from yesterday, so they went to open the door. She introduced herself as Suzuno and said she was a new neighbor. Since Satan had helped her last night, she gave him a box of noodles as thanks. When the young man picked it up, it was so heavy he could barely carry it. Alciel also introduced himself, but the landlady had already told her about them, adding that if she had any trouble, she should look for them. Suzuno was about to show them the photo from the landlady's letter, but Alciel immediately stopped her. Suddenly, she noticed there was another person in the house, so Satan said he was introverted and liked to hide, which made the young man angry and denied this. After finishing, Suzuno said goodbye and left. At this time, Imai received a holy artifact from Imayata, who had modified it to prevent damage when transferred to Japan. When Imai drank it, she could replenish magical power, but she could only drink it twice a day, in the morning and evening. After that, Imai continued to follow Satan despite the scorching sun. Suddenly, she saw Lucifer with a girl. Worried that the girl might be a demon, Imai secretly went up to observe them. Suzuno was teaching Lucy how to cook udon noodles to repay Alciel, who had to work hard to cook for him every day. He wanted Suzuno to talk some sense into Lucifer because they had talked until their throats were sore, but the young man wouldn't listen. so she asked Lucifer to grate ginger. Unfortunately, it was all gone, so Suzuno went home to get some. Imai heard this and quickly ran away, but ended up falling down the stairs again. Fortunately, Satan caught her, but she hit him and made him unconscious. After that, Suzuno apologized for suddenly opening the door and startling Imai. Satan mocked her, saying she was so careless but still worked as a hero. At this moment, Lucifer had picked up all of Imai's dropped items. He thought she was drinking an energy drink, so the woman immediately snatched it back. He said if Imai drank it, she would get heat stroke like Alciel, which surprised her quite a bit. Suzuno blamed herself, thinking if she had chosen a better dish, Alciel wouldn't have been like this. But the young man didn't blame Suzuno at all. She came to introduce herself to Imai and said she came from a distinguished family in a distant land, so she still hadn't adapted to life here. Imai had a habit of checking out other women, then politely greeted her. After eating, Satan complained about having too many things to learn, but he was quite proud that he was growing up like a human. And this Sunday, Satan would become the shift manager of the store. The young man boasted that it was a position with high responsibility and much higher pay. But Imai didn't believe it at all, so Satan said one day he would climb to heights she couldn't imagine. Suzuno misunderstood that Imai and Satan were dating because they talked so comfortably. So Imai had to explain many times that they had no relationship, and she even hoped Satan would go sell salt soon. Imai thought Suzuno looked quite similar to Chiho, so she asked if she was targeting the demon lord. So Suzuno pulled her outside and asked how Imai knew. Imai was about to say that previously Chiho also liked Satan like her, but instead said it was because she felt so. At first, Imai thought Suzuno was a demon. However, for the past week, she hadn't acted strangely and was even polite to her. So Imai advised Suzuno not to get close to Satan because he wasn't an easy person to deal with. Suzuno said she had a lot of experience in fighting, but since Imai had warned her, she would listen and asked for her further guidance. After that, she went inside and gave Suzuno her business card for easy contact. She also warned Satan that if he dared to do anything weird to Suzuno, she would beat him within an inch of his life. Then she went outside, said goodbye to Suzuno, and left. But the unstable staircase made Imai fall once more. In the afternoon, Satan was preparing to go to work when he saw Suzuno. He asked if Imai had said anything excessive to her, but Suzuno said no and gave him a bento box to eat. When he finished work, Imai was asked by Imayata about the effectiveness of the vitamin medicine. Although she had drunk it, she hadn't had a chance to test its effects. Imai said her relationship with Satan was still the same. Whenever they touched, there was a reaction. The other person teased Imai, saying she was like a sulking lover, which made Imai furious because they were sworn enemies. Imayata hoped Imai wouldn't do anything to make them enemies, so Imai advised her not to worry because she was a hero, and she had sworn on her parents' honor that she would never do anything wrong. Imayata said no country had made any moves yet because the rumors hadn't been leaked out, but the church was looking for the truth about Oba's disappearance. So she warned Imai to be careful, because among them were impulsive ones who could cause trouble for Japan. At the same time, the boss came to announce that the chicken shop would open tomorrow. Because she was busy, she would hand over the business to Satan. In case of emergencies, he was allowed to contact her. Otherwise, he had to solve problems himself to help Satan mature more. She asked if he wanted to eat subsidized meals at the shop. But today Satan had brought a bento box, so afterward, the young man went to the break room to eat. When Satan said this was given by a female neighbor, Chiho immediately grabbed Satan to ask 1,000 questions and wanted to see what was inside. Satan opened it, and Chiho had an ominous premonition. However, she still wanted to see the part below and was extremely shocked to see the lunchbox had a heart shape. That evening, just as Imai stepped out of the department store, a masked person rushed toward her. Imai immediately took out her holy sword, slashed the opponent away, and told the staff to call the police quickly. Then she went outside to combat the masked person. However, the attacker's strikes could nullify her holy sword, so he pressed the advantage to finish Imai off. But the security guard arrived just in time to save her. He had contacted the police, and they required Imai to stay to give a statement. Imai felt the vitamin medicine was effective because her holy sword had more power than before. But she was still puzzled about what the enemy's purple light was that could counter her holy sword and magical equipment. Suddenly, the police officer returned her bag, and coincidentally, Chiho called and told her about Satan receiving a heart-shaped lunchbox from a girl. So they both went to Satan's house to check out the rival. because Chiho was afraid she might be an assassin from Intaila who had poisoned Satan's food, which would be a disaster. When they saw Suzuno come out to open the door, Chiho felt like she was going to die. After that, she learned that because Alciel was sick, Suzuno had come over to cook for them. Chiho praised her profusely and took the opportunity to ask for some cooking tips. Satan was afraid they didn't have enough bowls and chopsticks for the guests, but Chiho said she had brought some. When the food was cooked, Lucifer was given an old paper box to eat from. He immediately threw a tantrum for being treated worse than Amai, so Satan said they had to prioritize the guests. Suzuno said she had utilized the leftover ingredients to save money, until she found a job that could support her daily expenses. Hearing this, Satan invited her to work at his place, which shocked everyone. He said with Chiho there, Suzuno wouldn't feel too much pressure. Lucifer was speechless because the demon lord didn't understand women's psychology, and Chiho was no longer disappointed but completely desperate. Amai advised Suzuno not to decide hastily because working with acquaintances had both advantages and disadvantages, so Suzuno said she would think about it more carefully. Alciel was curious when he saw she always wore traditional Japanese clothing, so Suzuno said there were no Western-style outfits in her closet, which made everyone freeze for 5 seconds. Lucifer asked if she knew where to buy bags, but Amai immediately snatched it back because she was afraid he would infect her with his gaming addiction. Even Chiho discriminated against Lucifer, which made the young man very dissatisfied. Chiho asked Amai to take Suzuno shopping for clothes, and she was also willing to help. After that, Suzuno changed into a new traditional outfit and went out with Amai. At this moment, Alciel reminded the demon lord to take Chiho home carefully. However, they had to walk because they weren't allowed to ride bicycles in the city. Satan wanted to know if Chiho's parents had any opinions about her coming to his house, but Chiho had given them the address of his house, so her parents had already given permission. Chiho offered to make a bento for Satan, and the young man agreed, which made her very happy. Satan asked if Chiho wasn't concerned about his identity, so she said she had learned about the good things he did through Amai. And she really liked Satan, so even if he saw her as just a Rain sister, someone with unrequited love, it was okay. But Chiho warned the young man not to be foolish enough to make girls angry. Suddenly, Suzuno spoke up, saying she had heard all of Chiho's confession, which embarrassed her so much that she stole the main character's bicycle and ran away. Suzuno asked what he thought about receiving Chiho's feelings. Satan immediately said if her parents trusted him, he should also show some sincerity. After that, Suzuno went to the station to meet Amai. However, this girl didn't know how to use a transit card, which made Amai wonder how she had come here. Suzuno said she had used a portal and directly fallen here. Suddenly, both of them screamed because Amai didn't know she was from Intaila. And when Suzuno heard Amai ask if she was targeting the demon lord, she thought Amai already knew her identity. Not realizing that Amai was asking if she liked Satan, Suzuno mentioned the rumor that Amai was on the same side as the demon lord, which made her go crazy, thinking the church was taking revenge on her. Amai suspected the masked person at the store yesterday was Suzuno, but there were no wounds on her. Suzuno said she wasn't stupid enough to challenge Amai and introduced herself as Suzuno, the head interrogator of the Inquisition Church, because it was time for work. Amai told Suzuno to go apply for immigration and tell her the details later. The girl was immediately angry because she didn't know how to use a transit card and wasn't familiar with escalators, so she fell flat on her face. Moreover, she was very curious about TVs. Amai couldn't believe Suzuno was so provincial, so she asked what she had learned since coming here. Suzuno knew that traditional Japanese clothing was Japan's traditional costume, so she always watched period dramas that featured it. Amai asked why Suzuno lived near the demon lord's house, so she said her purpose was to keep an eye on him. When Suzuno learned that Amai wasn't on the same side as the demon lord, she wanted to cooperate with her to defeat Satan and return to Intaila to reform the church because they intended to cover up Oba's unjust methods. Amai said she didn't agree, so Suzuno tried to persuade her to reclaim her rightful position and honor. Amai still refused because she couldn't trust someone who wanted to eliminate her and the demon lord and had collapsed the tunnel. Besides, defeating the demon lord was Amai's mission, so she hoped Suzuno wouldn't interfere. At the same time, she reminded her not to try anything because the demon lord would see through it immediately. Amai also took out several fashion magazines for Suzuno to learn from and arranged to meet her again in the afternoon. At this time, Chiho was apologizing to the demon lord for taking his bicycle and running away. Since the nearby restaurant opened, his store had few customers. The boss said her colleague had been pushed to another place because they lost in the battle with competitors, so she ordered Satan to use any means to defeat Sentaki. A moment later, a blue-haired guy came looking for the shop owner, so Satan said she was out. This person knew exactly that he was an employee with many good qualities, then gave his business card to Satan, who realized this guy's name was Mitsuki, and he was the owner of the Sentaki chicken shop. Suddenly, he saw Chiho was very pretty, so he used flattering words to compliment her and immediately ordered a takeout portion. After that, Chiho was very upset because that guy wore too strong cologne and had greasy glasses, which made her really want to defeat his restaurant. So Satan said he had sent Alciel to gather information about the competitor. When Mi and Jika were working, they met Suzuno. She said she had sold an expensive ring to buy traditional Japanese clothing and train cards. Suzuno asked Mi to take her to the Demon Lord's workplace, which made Jika think she was going to confront a rival in love, so she decided to go with Suzuno to observe the drama. At this time, Alciel had gone to Sentaki to spy, while Chiho and the main character were very upset that the competitor's shop was extremely crowded with customers. Soon they arrived at Hatagaza. Because today was a festival, this place was quite crowded. Jika saw that the Mjizono shop was too empty and not suitable for a love confrontation, while the Sentaki shop was quite busy, so Jika chose it as the battleground. After that, Jika wanted to hear details about Satan to resolve the fight. Mi was worried about how Suzuno would deal with her friend's misunderstanding. Then Jika told the two to order food and generously offered to treat them. Mitsuki gave discount coupons and took the opportunity to hold Jika's hand, which scared her. Jika went to tell her friends about this and strongly criticized Mitsuki's cologne smell and perversion. Jika really wanted to hear the dramatic love story of her two friends, so Suzuno said Satan was a kind neighbor, which confused Mi because just a moment ago, this girl had been demanding to eliminate the Demon Lord. When Mi said Satan was her enemy, Jika judged her friend as not being honest. Mi said she advised Suzuno to stay away from the Demon Lord for a different reason, not because she was competing for his affection. Mi didn't want Jika to ship her with Satan and cursed him as a bad guy, which made Alciel extremely angry. On the other side, Satan was very worried because he had previously asked his subordinate to go survey the food at Sentaki. Alciel didn't want to give money to the competitor, so the Demon Lord explained that his purpose for going there was to investigate everything about them. Because this was an issue related to Satan's career, Alciel promised to investigate them with minimal cost, which deeply moved the Demon Lord. Suddenly, Chiho came to report that everyone had almost finished today's work. He saw the streets were very crowded, but the shop still had few customers, so he tried to find a way to solve it, but couldn't think of anything. Everyone advised Satan not to be too discouraged, which restored the young man's spirit. He also encouraged everyone that the competitor was only temporarily at an advantage, but soon they would regain their number one position, so for now, everyone should go clean the windows. Alciel was about to settle scores with Mi when she asked him for a favor. Because she knew Alciel was investigating this restaurant, Mi promised to treat him to any dish he liked. Hearing this, Alciel immediately threw away his dignity and sat down at the table. To save costs, he was willing to sell his conscience cheaply. Jika thought Alciel was Mi's friend, so the two immediately denied it. He introduced himself as living with Satan, so Jika wanted to ask a few things about him. The young man immediately made up a story that he and Satan once ran a construction company called Mau, and Mi was an employee of a rival company. Jika asked her friend how old she was to have worked in that profession. Alciel said at that time, Mi was just a temporary employee, which quite surprised Suzuno, so Mi said that guy was lying. Alciel said the business was very successful, but the scale was so small that the management had to directly command. Because Mi was very good, they often competed with each other. At that time, the economy was in crisis, so companies managed by newcomers like them were easy to fail. As a result, Mi won the bid, and the Mao company went bankrupt, so both had to drift to distant apartments, and destiny brought them back to meet Mi again. Perhaps she still cared about her old rival, so she often came to their place. If you fail, you start again. So in just 1 year of working 100 shifts, Satan had been promoted to shift manager, while he stayed at home as the family man, doing laundry and cooking. But the young man still cherished the determination to start a business again. Alciel said the Demon Lord hated Mi very much, so things weren't as Jika imagined, so she was disappointed because she had overthought. Jika said her family also ran a small factory, and everyone helped each other when in danger. So she told Alciel to be prouder because he was a solid support for Satan. The young man smiled warmly, which Jika really liked. Because she still wanted to meet Satan, she decided to go with Alciel to his house to meet him. Before leaving, the young man ordered a few more dishes to take away and left Emai behind to pay. Going outside first, Mitsuki saw Emai was sad, so he acted like a poetic boy and advised her all sorts of things, saying men often take advantage when women are vulnerable, which Emai didn't understand at all. After that, Alciel told the demon lord that the competitor's shop gave discount codes. The chicken could be eaten with the bones, and they used organic coffee. Being praised by Satan, the young man demanded a reward of a potato combo and 2 extra large tuna portions. Satan said if Lucifer complained about these dishes, he could punch the young man without missing a single hit. Alciel wished the demon lord good luck with those 3 girls and left first. Jika saw Satan working professionally and was quite jealous, because around Emai were many talented people, including herself. At this moment, Satan came to ask the 3 people to order, but Emai asked the young man to bring coffee and apple pie here, which quite upset him. Moreover, he was criticized by Jika for not being attractive, which made the young man explode with emotion and scold her. Jika threatened to report Satan's attitude, but he didn't care and asked who she was. Jika said she was Emai's colleague. She had heard Alciel and Emai talk about him, but still wanted to come here to verify. The young man was frustrated because customers didn't come, but the troublemaker Emai did. Chiho advised him not to say that and brought food to Emai, also friendlily greeted Jika and hoped for her help. Jika thought Chiho was too cute and hugged her to her chest, almost making her unable to breathe. After that, Jika asked Satan what he would do to deal with the competitor, because she saw that he wasn't as dumb as he looked on the outside. So Satan ignited his inspiration and decided to use flyers for advertising, but no one cared. The young man switched to showing them that the food on their side could also be eaten with bones. Everyone said hamburgers don't have bones, so they thought Chiho was mentally deficient and took turns taking pictures of her. Satan wanted to allow people to freely use the bathroom, but that method had no benefit at all. This made the 3 girls think he had no future anymore. A while later, someone came to deliver 2 bamboo trees to Satan, so everyone displayed their talent in decorating papers on the trees. So when customers wrote prayers, they would be given a free drink. It was known that the bamboo trees were requested by Satan from Mr. Nabe, whom Satan met when volunteering to clean the area periodically. Jika thought that idea was quite good, and even Emai had to acknowledge this. After that, customers all rushed to check in with the bamboo trees, which made Jika surprised at how effective it was. And the advertising war god aka the marketing king and the employees were ready for the KPI battle tonight. Although yesterday was very busy with customers, Satan didn't rest on his laurels. Whenever he remembered Kasaki's words, he was always nervous. Suddenly, she said tomorrow Satan had to go to Fushima Park, which made him panic because he had already met his sales target. Unexpectedly, Kasaki's friend just wanted to borrow Satan for a few days, because they had just opened an amusement area and fair, so there would be many people coming. Chiho wanted to go along, but the boss said it wasn't necessary, which made her quite disappointed. In the evening, Alciel ate a lot of udon because it was about to expire. Lucifer said Fushima Park would open a new haunted house and also had a huge reptile exhibition with up to 300 species. The haunted house was rated scarier than mazes in other places. He saw that there were many fears there, which was favorable for increasing magic power, so Alciel wanted to go with the demon lord there. Lucifer asked for money to eat pizza, but Alciel didn't give it and forced the young man to eat the udon that was about to expire. At the same time, Emai was invited by Chiho to Fushima Park. She even prepared a bunch of swimsuits to enjoy with the person she liked. Emai was informed by Suzuno that tomorrow the demon lord would go to the park. However, she already knew this and would go there with Chiho. Emai didn't think the park would have magic power, so Suzuno said she was naive and that she would also go to verify. The next day, Satan had transferred to the new workplace. The boss heard that he worked very well, so Satan promised to try to meet her expectations. Because today would be quite crowded with customers, she hoped everyone would help each other well. At this time, Kai had met Emai and Suzuno. Since it was her first time at the park, she hoped to receive Chiho's guidance. After changing clothes, Emai saw Chiho's pair of speakers and felt very insecure about her flat screen. She even praised their size, which made Chiho very proud and curious about what Satan thought. Suddenly, they both saw Suzuno dressed like a man and were helplessly speechless. At the same time, Satan was working very productively, so the boss was quite satisfied. Chiho came here to buy things to support him, taking the opportunity to show off her bust and ask the main character how he felt. Satan didn't understand and said this area was crowded with customers, so he had learned many things. When Satan saw Mi and Suzuno coming, the young man immediately changed his expression 360 degrees. Because Alciel ate too much udon, he had to stick his face in the toilet 24/7. The young man was very sad because he couldn't go to support the demon lord, while Lucifer cruelly wished him to sleep there forever so he could freely make purchases. While eating, Chiho was very curious about the haunted house, so she invited everyone there. The atmosphere of this place was extremely gloomy, and ghosts kept appearing, waiting for the opportunity to scare them. Chiho accidentally saw a ghost's shadow in the window and fled in fear. After that, both went to find Chiho and saw someone crying. Suddenly, it turned its head, revealing a horrifying face that made them freeze for 5 seconds before running outside to meet Chiho. Next, they moved to the reptile area. Mi said it was still early to return, but Chiho still insisted on going. Suzuno mocked Mi, saying if she was scared, just admit it, so the woman spoke up, saying she wasn't afraid but just didn't like going. Chiho also didn't like reptiles because they suddenly appeared, making her very nervous, while Mi was traumatized by them because she had fought with giant reptiles before. As for Suzuno, she wasn't afraid and even wanted to know what they tasted like, because when she came to Okina, the shop owner had given her many dishes made from lizards. Although their interface was a bit unstable, the operating system was very tasty. So Mi immediately reminded Suzuno not to tell Chiho stories about Ente-Isla. At this moment, the boss instructed Satan to finish his work and then deliver goods in the park. Mi was looking at the reptiles when a lizard stuck out its tongue, startling her and causing her to bump into a man, making him drop his key, which was picked up by a monkey. A while later, Mi saw a cute monkey and called it to play. Unexpectedly, it ignored her and jumped into Chiho's big and round soul to enjoy. When the main character was about to leave, he heard someone calling the name Satan, only to find out it was the name of his monkey. While Chiho didn't know what to do with it, the monkey heard its owner calling and ran to him. Everyone was discussing how the monkey Satan loved girls and liked big ones, which made the main character uncomfortable and told them to be quiet. At this time, the ugly fish cage had been opened, but no one knew and they were still playing carefreely. A while later, they all ran in chaos when they saw an alligator coming ashore. Satan saw this and immediately absorbed all the fear, then used magic to drive the alligators away. Suzuno didn't understand why he saved humans and sacrificed the magic power he had worked hard to collect. By the afternoon, the boss had many words of praise for Satan. When Mi's group was on the way back, Chiho said going out with Mi and Suzuno was secondary, but seeing Satan being cool was the main thing. After that, they had to say goodbye to Mi and walk home. Suddenly, Suzuno saw a winged person appear on the roadside, but he quickly disappeared. The next day, Lucifer asked the demon lord if he had collected magic power. He said he had already used it all, so Alciel crawled out to scold Lucifer as a fraud. Suddenly, someone came to deliver a package, and Lucifer was about to receive it but got a cramp and fell flat on his face. So Satan had to go open the door and learned that person had bought a super huge package. Alciel didn't have time to deal with it before he had to return to the bathroom to do his business. Although the disease was very serious, the young man still stubbornly refused to go to the doctor, which made Satan helpless. After that, Alciel became seriously ill, so Satan had to cook food for him. Suddenly, someone came to deliver a parcel, making Alciel think Lucifer was shopping again. It turned out the landlady had hunted many interesting items in Hawaii, so she sent them here and asked them to sell them in the discount market festival. Meanwhile, Suzuno was remembering when she met Mitsuki. In Ente-Isla, people were discussing how Tom opposed the Great Divine Church and had been dealt with. Another group heard that the church's knights were stationed in a village, so they wanted to send more troops there, but someone disagreed. Because even if they did, they wouldn't win, so they decided to spread the news that the church's knights couldn't protect the village, and the Alliance Knights would initiate a campaign to discipline the demon lord. When they saw Suzuno appear, all the men passed out because they had drunk poisoned wine. The remaining one who intended to oppose was immediately eliminated by her. After that, Suzuno came to ask Oba about the church's knight squad. And if the Alliance Knights weren't united against the Demon Lord, then the church would have to take responsibility. So why didn't he cooperate with them? The old man told Suzuno not to be overly concerned and gave her the list of the next heretics. Now Suzuno realized that the ones who saved the world weren't them but the hero. At Emai's company, when Jika learned that she went to the park and met Satan, she enthusiastically shipped them. But the person Emai cared about now was only Suzuno. Currently, Chiho was at the Demon Lord's house. He said these packages were sent by the landlady, but because Alciel wasn't well, he had to ask Chiho to help. Unexpectedly, the young man was crushed by several boxes. Suddenly, Lucifer said Emai was coming here because last time he had attached a transmitter to her bag. So Satan hurriedly went to open the door, only to find that she was looking for Suzuno. A while later, both were asked by the Demon Lord to help. Lucifer was planning to sneak away but was caught by Satan. While everyone was sorting the goods, Lucifer thought no one would fit into this huge swimsuit. As for Chiho, she praised it as quite cute, which made Emai want to buy it, but she was mocked by him for not fitting into it. Satan found a lot of food and drinks. Since this was given by the landlady, Satan immediately opened it to drink. Unexpectedly, he was clumsy and splashed water on Suzuno. Emai immediately gave her a handkerchief, which made Suzuno remember a scene from the past. At this moment, Chiho said there were only 5 cups in the house, so Satan made Lucifer go without a drink, which made the young man very dissatisfied. That evening, Satan and everyone set up the goods for sale. Because Suzuno hadn't participated in festivals for several years, Chiho said this year they should enjoy it together. But Satan had a shift to work, so he had to say goodbye to them and leave first. After that, Suzuno went to meet the man in black and was reminded to complete the objective before the Demon Lord recovered his magic power. Previously, the bishops were very upset with the Holy Isle group because they had the bodies of assassinated nobles and records of the theological meetings of the Council of Bishops. They didn't want to bear the responsibility, so they decided to blame Oba. Zeri decided to establish a review committee and invited people from the Inquisition over. Suzuno despised those guys for profiteering without minding getting their hands dirty, while she assassinated people but didn't want to do so. Currently, Suzuno had agreed to fulfill Mitsuki's request. Meanwhile, Alciel was writhing in pain but still stubbornly refused to go to the hospital. So Lucifer went big by calling a private ambulance to see if Alciel would be impressed. When Chiho found Suzuno, she immediately invited her to work at her shop. But Suzuno warned Chiho to stay away from the Demon Lord. She said that last time, Satan had used magic to increase the number of customers coming to the restaurant, because humans suppressed their emotions and created the Tanabata tree. That was the intermediary that made the Demon Lord unconsciously activate magic power. Chiho immediately defended Satan, saying he wouldn't do anything bad. But Suzuno worried that once the Demon Lord gained trust from people, he would turn around and betray the world. Emai didn't think so because his promotion at work didn't mean he would conquer the world. Suzuno still insisted on eliminating the Demon Lord and wanted to erase Chiho's memories. She disagreed because it was very difficult for her to get to know everyone. Suzuno said Satan was just using Chiho's feelings to diminish their fighting spirit. But to Chiho, Satan was a kind person, and besides, everyone hadn't fought directly with the Demon Lord, so they didn't understand him. Satan had spent effort restoring the shattered high-rise building and always helped Chiho at work, so she thought the Demon Lord leading armies to conquer the world must have had some reason. Emai said she wanted everyone to be happy, so she couldn't stand by and watch Chiho get hurt, and she also didn't want to sacrifice anything to accept the outcome. Suzuno still believed that worthy sacrifices were needed. However, Emai would be able to do that because she was a hero. When she learned that Emai didn't want to eliminate the Demon Lord yet, Suzuno had to leave. After that, Chiho blamed herself for speaking harshly to Suzuno, so Emai comforted her. Suddenly, someone ambushed both of them, but fortunately, Emai carried Chiho and avoided it in time. The woman immediately took out her holy sword to solo with him, but was at a disadvantage. He took off his mask and attacked Emai again, causing the holy sword to lose its effect. Because Mitsuki possessed the power of the fallen evil eye light, he would overwhelm those who used holy artifacts. Mitsuki took off his cloak again, revealing his true identity as the Holy Sariel. His purpose in coming here was to take back Emai's holy sword. With those words, she was hit and stuck to the wall, causing the holy sword to disappear as well. Chiho saw that Suzuno had betrayed Emai and was very disappointed, so Suzuno had to give her a ticket to deep sleep. At this moment, Satan received a call from Chiho's mother saying she hadn't returned home yet, so he asked Lucifer. But this guy didn't know either. However, Lucifer had researched Mitsuki and found that he wasn't on the employee list. The young man looked at the map and saw Suzuno moving at an extremely fast speed to the city hall. So Satan immediately grabbed his warhorse to go save Chiho. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Oba had woken up. Alciel was lying there, regretting the money he had to spend on medication. When the nurse came in, he immediately asked if his national health insurance card could be used. She said Alciel shouldn't worry and was about to add another bag of medicine. But the young man refused and went outside, where he saw an unconscious police officer. Suddenly, Oba appeared, hit Alciel once, and took his insurance card. At this time, Mitsuki was torturing Imai to make her hand over the holy sword, but she couldn't materialize it and believed the holy sword was rejecting him. Imai told Mitsuki to let Chiho go, but he refused, because he wanted to research how the Demon Lord's power affected humans, and she still loved Satan even though she knew he was the Demon Lord. Imai scolded Mitsuki as a pervert, which made him go crazy and attack her more fiercely. At the same time, Satan was riding and crashed into a barrier. Mitsuki realized he was here, so he ordered Suzuno to deal with the Demon Lord. Imai said that even if she and Satan were eliminated, Inte-Ila would not change compared to before Suzuno came here. Mitsuki said he would be proof of her righteous actions, so Suzuno left, but deep down, she hoped Satan would help her because she didn't want anyone to be sacrificed. Satan had just used magic power to break the barrier when Suzuno appeared and flattened his bike. The young man immediately cried like a dog and demanded Suzuno buy him a new bike. She didn't care and continued to attack repeatedly. So Satan asked for permission to stop for 5 seconds to take off his employee uniform. If it got damaged, a poor guy like him wouldn't have money to compensate. Suzuno went crazy and created a whirlwind that blew away his shirt. Satan had recognized Suzuno's identity before, because no one would bother to take care of a bunch of boys like them. Satan thought Suzuno had changed, but the outcome was still like Oba. He said she did whatever it took to achieve her goals, which was no different from demons, and asked if she wasn't ashamed to involve Emi and Chiho in this. Suzuno immediately hit the Demon Lord, but he had used up all his magic power and couldn't fight back. Suzuno said the Demon Lord couldn't defeat Sariel because the closer to the moon, the stronger he would become. However, Satan would not abandon his subordinates. The young man also knew that Suzuno really wanted to defeat Sariel, and hearing the Demon Lord say that, she also decided to go help them. At the same time, Oba had come to ask Lucifer for help, with the condition that he would let him return to heaven. Because Imai refused to hand over the holy sword, Sariel intended to take it from her body. Chiho immediately cursed him as a womanizer, so Sariel criticized Imai as a flat screen and said later he would research Chiho's entire body, so both cursed him terribly. Imai warned Sariel that if he touched Chiho, the Demon Lord wouldn't let him get away with it, because he always protected his employees to the fullest. Sariel didn't believe the Demon Lord would be bound by the principles of this world. However, he was very wrong because right after that, he appeared. Sariel said the celestial silver was the source for better harp, which was a valuable object of heaven, so the hero couldn't keep it. Satan didn't care about that and just wanted to settle scores with him for making Chiho cry. She heard this and was very touched, but then caught a cold when she learned that he was just protecting his subordinate. Sariel laughed because with that weak body, Satan couldn't do anything. He constantly attacked the Demon Lord, but he still boldly declared he wouldn't lose, which made Sariel laugh uncontrollably and fly up close to the moon to increase his power. At the same time, Oba was creating a formation to attack them. When Suzuno was about to destroy the station so the Demon Lord could absorb magic power, Lucifer said it was too late and pointed in Sariel's direction. At this time, his power had increased overwhelmingly and easily got the upper hand on the Demon Lord. The sky changing color made everyone panic and fear, which helped Alciel and the Demon Lord recover their power. Satan's killing intent was so fierce that it made Chiho have difficulty breathing, so Suzuno told him to restrain his power. The Demon Lord even lightly boasted that his underwear was made of premium material, so fighting wouldn't worry about tearing. He untied Imai and asked Suzuno to take care of them. She also apologized to Chiho and promised to explain this later. Sariel immediately scolded her for being crazy to cooperate with the Demon Lord, so Suzuno countered him fiercely, saying he was imposing a fake peace on the people, causing chaos in another world, and betraying those who deserved protection. What he did wasn't justice as instructed by the gods. As the head interrogator of the Inquisition Church, Suzuno would definitely not forgive Sariel's false justice. He found it laughable that a bloodthirsty Grim Reaper like her would utter the word justice. Suzuno said at least the Demon Lord wasn't hypocritical like him. No matter what, Sariel still believed they couldn't defeat his moon power. At this moment, Lucifer lightly asked for Amai's bag from Oba to return to her. Oba realized he had been tricked by Lucifer, so he immediately gave him an uppercut to the jaw, knocking him unconscious. On this side, Sariel was getting nervous because the moon was gradually being obscured. The Demon Lord gave him a choice. 1. Go home. 2. Stay here and get beaten up. However, Sariel still determined to defeat the Demon Lord and launched a fatal attack, damaging the buildings. After that, Salciel was at a disadvantage against the Demon Lord, so he intended to take Chiho hostage, but unexpectedly was kicked very hard by a costumed demon. Because Mi was thrown out, Satan quickly flew to save her, taking the opportunity to remind her to cover her obviously flat screen. Sariel still hoped to get the Holy Sword to crush the Demon Lord, so Satan immediately took out his own Holy Sword to eliminate this guy. Satan was a bit regretful because he had to use the magic power obtained to repair this place. Mi said he fought too leisurely, so the Demon Lord scolded her as ungrateful. He also mocked Mi for being flat-screened, which made her spray stiff. At this moment, Alciel had just arrived here, making the Demon Lord extremely frustrated, and Lucifer only hoped to go home to eat fried chicken. It was time for the Demon Lord to say goodbye to Chiho to return to Intaila. Because she couldn't bear to be apart from the person she loved, she wanted to follow him there. However, the young man had refused, then gave Chiho a kiss on the forehead and left. Unexpectedly, all of this was just her dream. When Chiho arrived at work, she told Satan about it and remembered his kiss. But Satan no longer had enough magic power to return there, because yesterday he had restored the buildings and opened a portal to throw Sariel back to Intaila. Suddenly, Kisaki asked Satan about him taking a broom out of the shop and not returning. Unexpectedly, Suzuno appeared saying he had saved her. Lucifer, being idle and mischievous, had installed tracking devices on Suzuno and Mi, which made Alciel very angry because this guy always spent money frivolously. Suzuno told Kisaki that they were being stalked by a pervert and Satan came to save them. Chiho also joined in to explain, so the boss had to believe it. Suddenly, an employee discovered Sariel lying in the refrigerator. Suzuno thought the bamboo tree had reacted with magic power and created a portal, which was why he was here. As soon as Sariel woke up, he was captivated by Kisaki's beauty and believed they were the Romeo and Juliet of the fast food world. The young man tried to touch Kisaki inappropriately, so the woman beat him up. While Mi was working, she saw the Demon Lord announcing that he had conquered Hazakaga and next would be Greenland. However, that was just her dream. While changing clothes, Jika advised Mi to put aside her grudges with Satan. She said they still had many issues because he had killed her father and destroyed her village, and she didn't know when Satan would change as in that dream. Mi came to the Demon Lord's house and saw that he was being fed by Suzuno, which made Chiho extremely jealous and asked Satan whose cooking he preferred. He said having both of them cook would save costs. Suddenly, Alciel came to ask the Demon Lord for permission to rest for a while. When Mi returned home, she told Amada about this, making her think Alciel was tired of the cramped Demon Lord's castle. At that time, the young man only wanted to speak privately with Satan, so they had to leave. Mi found Alciel very suspicious, so she asked her friend to investigate if there was anything unusual in Intaila. While taking shelter from the rain, Mi remembered her first meeting with Satan. Chiho was worried that he would return to Intaila like in the dream, so Mi said she also had an ominous dream. But as long as she was here, she wouldn't let Chiho be sad. The next day, Mi saw someone delivering many packages to Satan's house, so she thought they were items sent from the demon realm. After that, Amada reported to Mi that there was nothing unusual in Intaila, and complained that she had gained weight recently, which made Mi angry because this had nothing to do with her. Sariel had given Kisaki roses and confessed his love, but she immediately criticized him strongly. Suddenly, Satan came to request a shift change because of an unexpected matter. Kisaki happily agreed, but Chiho was very sad. She immediately questioned Satan about returning to Intaila, so he explained that he no longer had enough magic power to return there, and the reason for changing his shift couldn't be told. The next day, Mi and Chiho followed Satan and saw him going to a construction site to work. However, they were quickly discovered by Satan. He explained the reason for earning money was to pay for the signal transmitters that Lucifer had bought and attached to Amai's bag and Suzuno's clogs. Hearing this, Amai was about to use her holy sword to deal with Satan. He said thanks to it he had saved her. So Amai had to direct her anger at the signal transmitter. Because the payment deadline was approaching and Satan hadn't received his salary yet, Alciel told him to do temporary work paid by the day. Satan was afraid that if Chiho knew about this, she would feel guilty. Like because he saved her, he had to spend money to buy signal transmitters. So the young man had to apologize for hiding it from Chiho. Amai asked what the goods delivered to Satan's house were. But he didn't know either, so they went home and opened the box to find down comforters, a fire extinguisher, and a water filter. Lucifer said he had been scammed because after selling the hard drive to them, he was forced to buy those things, and the total loss amounted to 128,000 yen. Amai found the information of that company and let Satan call to return the goods. They said the water filter had been tested before delivery, so it couldn't be returned, and the fire extinguisher was the same because they had installed it for him. While the down comforter set included 7 items, but Satan only had 5. Because the quantity wasn't enough, he couldn't return the goods, so Satan and Amai had to go to the company to negotiate, but unexpectedly met Alciel working there. The young man said they had been scammed, so Alciel realized he was working for an unethical business. Suddenly, the director appeared saying that transaction was established based on an agreement between him and Lucifer. If he continued to make baseless accusations, he would make a big deal out of it. Although they really wanted to report to the police, they had no evidence to accuse that person. Satan was very worried because he didn't know where to find 128,000 yen to pay. Amai knew Lucifer was 18 years old, so she suggested they go to cooling off. They said that when minors sign transaction contracts exceeding the amount they are allowed, they must have the consent of their guardian, so the demon lord would be the subject for cooling off. After that, the redhead had to transport the goods back, which made Satan smile the smile of a winner. Alciel couldn't believe Amai had helped them, so Satan thought one day she would also be a member of the demon lord's group. With those words, both ordered food to enjoy. When finished, Satan had to go home in the rain. While stopping at a red light, Amai came to give Satan an umbrella to compensate for the umbrella she had thrown away before.